The litigants for our next case are on their way into the courtroom right now.
These are the plaintiffs, Dorothy and Sam Oleesky, owners of the Beverly Silver Shop. They say they appraised the defendant's silverware, but their fee was never paid. They're suing for $35. This is the defendant, Helga Shanahan. She claims the plaintiffs didn't come through on time. She is accused of non-payment on silver appraisal. We'll return for the case of the unpaid appraisal after these messages.
This is the case of the unpaid appraisal. Now, the plaintiffs say the defendants brought in their silverware to get a written appraisal of its value. They say they prepared that appraisal, but that no one ever came to pick it up. However, they still want their fee. The defendants say that's not true. Mrs. Shanahan was there, but the appraisal wasn't. That's the case. Now let's watch as Judge Wapner makes his appraisal of the testimony.
People's Court, case number 0241, Oleesky versus Shanahan for $35. All rise, please.
You may be seated. I know you have been sworn. I have read your complaint. Sir, tell me what happened with the defendant.
Mrs. Shanahan came into my store with a set of silver, European silver, not sterling. There's a difference, of course, and asked for an appraisal. Now, there are three kinds of appraisals. There's a buying appraisal, a selling appraisal, and an insurance appraisal. She wanted an insurance appraisal. In the case of a buying appraisal, somebody will come in and say, what should I pay for this? If it's a selling appraisal, what do you think I ought to get for this? But for an insurance appraisal, how much would this cost to replace? I made a complete list of what she had. I don't know if you have a copy of it, sir. If not, it's right here.
I'd like to see it.
And
what did you make this list from? For the silver that
she brought the silver in and laid it on the counter. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Made a list of what she had, and off the top of my head, I took a look at it, estimated what it's worth from experience.
Right.
About that time, Mrs. Oleesky came in, and Miss Shanahan or Mrs. Shanahan asked me, what's it worth? I said between $7,500 and $8,000, approximately. She turned to Mrs. Oleesky and said, would you buy it? And she said no, and apparently she was a little disappointed. She said, I'll pick up the appraisal tomorrow morning. She did not come in tomorrow.
Did you tell her how much it would be, sir?
Yes.
How much did you tell her?
$35 for an appraisal.
Okay.
She did not come in the following morning. At 1 o'clock that day, I put it in the mail with the bill.
Do you have a copy of it?
The bill, yes.
No, the copy of the appraisal.
No, I do not keep copies of appraisals because if anybody were to get into my store and get copies, they'd have a complete list of everybody who has what silver in Beverly Hills. So as soon as I ship it, I just keep the written copy until it's paid for, and then I destroy it. So there are no records in my shop of anybody's silver in town.
Okay. Did you get a written appraisal in the mail?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It dates June 4th. I was in the store on Monday, June 1st. It was correct what Mr. Oleesky said. I had a verbal agreement to pick up my typed appraisal on June 2nd, Tuesday morning. I came in to pick up my written appraisal because at the same afternoon I had an appointment with Farmers Insurance for insurance purpose of my items in the house. Therefore, was a great need to have the appraisal written and typed up. The verbal agreement was not true. I came in the store, but the appraisal was not done. I told Mr. Oleesky that I was not interested in a later type, and he should not send it anymore to me.
When did you tell him that?
On Tuesday morning. At 11 o'clock.
Did he tell you the appraisal was not ready on Tuesday?
Yes.
When he was busy?
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Our store is closed on Monday, so it's obviously impossible that she came in on Monday. The date that the appraisal was made is written right on there. I had no knowledge of her defense until this moment.
Let me see the appraisal. It's dated the 4th. When you met with the insurance company,
Yes.
did you meet with them on June 2nd?
Yes, on Tuesday. June 2nd, right.
And they had to have the appraisal on that day?
Yes.
Why?
Because in my house I had 3 burglaries, and I got many things appraised, and I needed also an appraisal of my
Well, did you have a
silver.
burglary between June 2nd and June 6th?
No. I had in the previous year 3 burglaries.
Well, then the insurance company would accept this on the 6th as an appraisal, wouldn't they?
I had a verbal agreement with Mr. Oleesky on Monday to pick up the typed appraisal
He says
on
he's
Tuesday.
closed on Monday.
No, he was not closed.
We haven't been open on Monday in 10 years.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I have...
Have you ever given the insurance company any appraisal?
Not anymore. I keep it in a safe now. The appraisal came too late. I could not use it on Tuesday, and I told Mr. Oleesky that I have no need of his typed appraisal anymore.
I never saw her after she brought the silver in.
You have any, I don't think there's any necessity. You have some silver there. I don't know that I need to look at it. It doesn't really make too much difference. We're only really talking about the appraisal unless you feel there's some significance about the silverware.
Well, Mr. Oleesky came also into the store of Pratesi where I'm managing, and he appeared on a day where I was not, where I was off, and he was very boisterous.
That's a lie.
To the employees.
He's got a loud voice.
Made myself a bad name. He was screaming around, and my employees did not know how he should.
Did you ever tell Mr. Oleesky that you needed the appraisal because you had burglaries? You needed it for the insurance company?
I said only I need it the next morning by 11 o'clock. As a store, both of our stores are in Brighton Way in Beverly Hills, and I come and pick it up myself.
And she didn't
I
come.
needed it
Yeah,
definitely.
you received this appraisal through the mail?
I received it on Saturday, June 6th.
June 6th.
Through the mail, and it was too late to be used.
There's no disagreement that you would agree to pay him $35 if he gave it to you on time?
Yes, there was no disagreement because I entered the store to get an appraisal. I asked him how much is the fee, and I was fully aware that $35 I will spend from appraisal.
Fine. We'll take a short recess, and I'll come back and give you my decision.
We'll return for Judge Wapner's decision right after these messages. Here in the People's Court, we are constantly encouraging people who feel that they are being ripped off or taken advantage of to take people to court. However, it does work the other way, too. If you feel you are being wrongfully sued, the best way to stand up for your rights is to go to court and fight back. It's to your advantage, so take advantage of it. In this specific case, there is certainly no doubt. The general consensus here in the courtroom is that if they were the judge, the observers would certainly decide for the plaintiff. Let's see what Judge Wapner has decided.
All rise, please.
You may be seated. This is a case involving really an oral contract for services rendered. The plaintiffs rendered the service. I think they did it very expeditiously. According to the memo that he has submitted to me, he first saw the defendant on June 3rd, 81 with a list, prepared the appraisal on the 4th, mailed it out promptly. The defendant received it on the 6th. She possibly could have made time of the essence in this oral agreement. However, she didn't tell him that she needed the appraisal for insurance, that it had to be tomorrow. He did it, as I say, as soon as he possibly could. There's no reason why she couldn't and still can't give this appraisal to the insurance company and have it valid. Whether you want to keep your silver in a safe deposit vault or use it is up to you, but the plaintiff is entitled to his money for services rendered. My judgment is for the plaintiff for $35.
Well, Judge Wapner rules for the plaintiff in this case. Mrs. Shanahan, who is the defendant, was the one who originally asked for the appraisal, has just come out of the courtroom. Let me ask you, do you think the reason that in the shop you were told by Mrs. Oleesky that she would not buy the silver is the thing that may have turned you off on the whole appraisal deal after all?
No, not at all. because all I needed was the appraisal. And I entered the store to have the appraisal ready by the next day. And I told him that I really needed it. And, well, the court shows that I never showed up, and that is not true.
All right. Thank you for talking with us. Officer Burrell has some papers for you to sign in the back of the courtroom. Mr. and Ms. Oleesky, if you'll come on out here for just a moment. You know, it's very interesting in the business that you're involved in. I'm wondering if this kind of thing ever happens where you find yourself in a situation of finding it difficult to prove that you did do an appraisal for someone when you don't keep records like this.
This is the first time we've ever said you can't keep records and protect your customers. If I were to have a complete list of everything I appraised and you were to break into my shop, if you were that type of a person, you could have a list of every piece of silver in Beverly Hills and know exactly where it were.
I'll ask you one other question.
Sure.
For a Beverly Hills jewelry shop owner, is it really worth your time to go to court for $35?
No. It's the principle of the thing.
Well, thank you very much. And that wraps it up for the case of the unpaid appraisal, and unfortunately that's all we have time for in this session of the People's Court. I'm Doug Llewellyn. Thanks again for being with us, and remember, when you think you're being ripped off or taken advantage of, don't take the law into your own hands, take them to court.
A reminder that the People's Court can also be seen Sunday nights at 6:30 right here on 7.